Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Liam Quinn. I'm from Troop 1000, and today I will be presenting my lighting design on the musical The Boy from Oz. Lyrics all written by Peter Allen. The Boy from Oz is a jukebox mega musical that follows the life of singer-songwriter Peter Allen through his life in the early 50s all the way to the end of his life in the 1970s. Throughout this time, he is able to create a career in show business, playing different venues such as Carnegie Hall, Radio City Music Hall, and even some smaller local venues. During my read-through of the show, I found out that there were themes such as being true to yourself and being and making the best of the situation that you were given. Also, during my read-through of the show is where my design idea came in. I realized that there were 3 worlds that I needed to recreate while working on my lighting design for this. The first world I had to recreate was this world that was his reality, the real world where he would have connections and talk to people such as Judy Garland, Liza Minnelli, later on in his life, his partner Greg Connell. How I wanted to recreate this was I wanted all these scenes to mostly take place in his New York penthouse, where I would use very little cyc lights because I wanted to portray different locations using projections, and so I left the site pretty much blank for most of it, as we would be able to project on the different scenes. But I did want to create setting and time of day using the lights, so I want to recreate more of a penthouse feeling, like how most of the scenes would take place, using some warm orange colors that would be used in incandescent lighting, such as candle lights, lamps, anything of that would give off this warm, homey feeling. I also wanted to give a little bit of a deeper feeling with using paint that's thrown from the booms onto these different people, so that it will reflect off of them. And the pink not only resembles like the sunrise or the sunset, it resembles Peter Allen's true connection with anyone who he talked to and anyone who he was talking to, as pink is a color that represents love and care in my show and in my design. The second world I had to recreate, as I mentioned, was this world inside of Peter Allen's head. Most of the story is told through him narrating over what's about to happen in his life, or what's happening in his life, or what he's doing at that very moment. So I wanted to really recreate this world where he's able to just be in his head, and it's this lonely, cold place that is true to him, and he's the only person who understands himself. So I wanted to really recreate that lonely feeling by having the entire stage be a blue out, which I specifically chose this shade of blue because it represents his Australian pride, as it's the same color blue that's used in the Australian flag, and I really wanted to honor his heritage and how proud of him being an Aussie that he truly was in my design, so that's why I chose to use a blue out opposed to any other colors. This cue specifically is taken from the song I Still Call Australia Home, which is his final number that he's performing on stage, and that number is all about him reflecting on his life and reflecting on his accomplishments and just what he's done, as it's the last time that he's going to be seen on stage ever before he passes away in the show. And so I wanted to really get this feeling of reflection and being at home of where he really is, which is why I focused all the movers center stage on him during this light cue. The final world I had to recreate was his concert stage world. Now, Peter Allen always made sure that his concerts were larger than life, and they were always mind-blowing. And so, opposed to using a conventional Broadway style, I wanted the audience to really feel like they were experiencing one of his lighting designs, concerts, opposed to him just being on stage and you're watching a recreation of this thing. I wanted you to actually experience it. So I wanted to use moving lights that would flash out into the audience, which is where I got this inspiration from. This cue is from the song I Go to Rio, which is the finale to the show, where Rio represented his paradise and where he wanted to go to. So how I wanted to recreate Rio on stage and transport the audience into one of his concerts and into his paradise, so that they can see where he's truly celebrating, where he's happy, is I wanted to recreate with my high sides and top light using an orange sandy color that would give off very warm sandy beach feels that Rio de Janeiro is always prominently known for. I also wanted to use the sight, which is something I haven't usually done, to recreate the blue skies of Rio de Janeiro by using different textures of lights in the tops and using a little bit of cooler purples to kind of give it just a little bit more depth of an actual sun, of the actual skies of Rio de Janeiro. I also wanted to add in a hint of a little bit more tropical feeling, so I made the moving elation lights into do ballyhoos into the audience to really resemble that tropical feeling, and they were in the shapes of leaves as they were sporadically moving around to really give you this tropical celebration feel. With that, that is my design process and my design for the Boy from Oz. If you want to read more about my design statement, you can find it at the front of this binder here. If you want to see the color palettes I used and reference photos, you can see it here. I also have a complete list of all my rendering designs and descriptions in the back of your binders, and my magic sheet is at the front. With that, are there any questions that you have about my design or the show? Thank you.
I just love a ballyhoo, right? That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I want to know why, it feels to me in the 3 representations that you were very concerned at representing his world, the real world in which he lived on the stage.
Yes.
Why was that so central to your concept?
It was so central because throughout this show, it's him making the show. He's the one talking about the show. He's the one expressing what's happening. So I really wanted to convey that, and I wanted to be like, this is his reality. A line that kind of like really stuck with me is in the beginning of the show, you see what's about to happen later on in the show before his father kills himself.
Spoiler.
He there's a moment where Peter Allen, it's about to happen. He's getting into a fight, and then with young Peter Allen versus older Peter Allen. Older Peter Allen is narrating over this thing. He says, "Stop! You don't want to see what happens next." As this is, he's trying to manipulate his reality so that he can kind of he can both forget about and escape to his paradise. But I wanted the show to centrally be his show, not something for other audiences to see. It was truly just a him show.
Well, thank you.
You know what I really like on this is the professionalism that you show with that light plot, first of all, and then these books that came out. Everything was done a very wonderful presentational value. You took time, you printed things were, you know, the color palettes were great. I love the choices for the color palettes. I think your choices for your slideshow really work. You gave us enough taste that we want more. And I can't say that about a lot of lighting designers I've met. I don't want to they give me too much usually. And I wanted to hear more of your ideas.
Well, thank you.
That's a really neat concept that what you just did for me. It's like, oh, I want to hear more of what he has to think. Because as a director, I would say, oh, okay, we're going to Starbucks. We're going to talk a whole bunch more.
Yeah.
Because I like what you gave me.
Thank you.
And that's a gift. You did a nice job with that.
You did a great job using the tools available to you, using free software. I imagine you've used the student version of Vectorworks.
Yes.
The mastery that you've shown in Vectorworks as well as in Augmented here is really something to be proud of.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you for drafting.
Thank you.
That's something that I taught myself to do.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, paid dividends for me kind of in my professional career.
Okay.
Good work.
Thank you.
Something I would be interested in future world creations, right? If the world matters for you so much. Was this an assignment?
This partially for an assignment, partially also for this.
Was this a real life show?
This was not a realized show. This was just a concept of a show that I.
So get that set design friend of yours to build you a world.
Yes.
Right, because there's so much that you wanted to convey of this world, and we just don't see a world. So I have to make up the world, and then
Yeah. One of the things is we didn't have a base plot for the show, so I had to actually open up AutoCAD and teach myself how to draft this out, how to design this, and how to import it all. So
Good for you.
absolutely, great achievement in that way.
Did you import your lighting rig from Vectorworks?
I did. Did I? Yes.
You're able to draw a set in Vectorworks and have it come over in the same way that you've done lighting. For next time, it's something to look into. It'll make your life easier instead of having to learn a new program. You can build it in your space in Vectorworks.
Yeah. No,
And then flip it over to Augmented.
This is so clean,
It looks
you
very
give
well
it to 3 or 4 people, hang these lights, man, it's right there. And you can't do everything. You may think you can, but you can't. you know, and you need to give it to the crew, well,
Yeah.
that is perfect, you know, and your concept here, as a crew member, I could see this too, and that is good too. You really hit it.
Thank you.
Do you like the show?
I love, it's my favorite
Okay,
musical.
travel. Is it your favorite?
It's my favorite musical. No one really has heard of it, but I love it, so.
Where'd you find it?
I went to a Hugh Jackman concert, and Hugh Jackman in 2003 was,
Thank you.
the boy from Oz, and so he did a little segment on that, and so I, love the show
There you
since.
go, that's time.
You need to travel.
Yeah. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.